Welcome to Newport, Rhode Island.
This is an amazing town, an amazing city that's got an incredible past. It's got colonial homes built in the 1700s.
Yep.
It's got incredible restaurants, and there's also the historic home of the
tomato.
And we're going to tell you all about it, so join us in Newport, Rhode Island.
Let's go.
Let's go check it out.
So we're at Anthony's in Newport, Rhode Island, actually Middletown, Rhode Island. And we are so excited because we have read about this famous Rhode Island clam chowder.
This is the original clam chowder. It's the clear clam chowder. And this, prior to 1880, all clam chowders were clear.
So this is the original. This is how everyone used to eat chowder before New England started doing the cream base and Manhattan started adding the tomato to it. But this is the real deal. This is the original way it was eaten, and there are many different variations that were used on it. It basically originated on the ships. They fed it it was a sailor's ration.
Yeah, they would take the scraps. They would take the clams, right?
Yeah.
And some of the hardtack bread, mix it up.
Sometimes if you were lucky, you'd get a little salt pork with it.
If you were lucky.
And it was like one of these kitchen sink things, you know, they'd take the vegetables they had. Sometimes you'd end up with turnip in it. Sometimes, potato, which the potato stuffed. But anyway, so this is the original. So we're going to try it.
There we go. All right. And let me try this. Yeah, I mean, this just tastes like the sea. I think it's clean. You can taste the brine of the clams. The potato kind of comes through even more, I think, because the cream isn't, kind of holding it back.
You can taste the earthiness. Yeah, you can taste the earthiness of the potato more because it's not masked by the cream or the tomatoes.
And it's not as filling, and it is delicious. She needs to talk more, so I can eat more. Guys, if you come to Rhode Island, you have to get it. It's a classic. So
Anthony's is an amazing place to come in Middletown.
This
is
the
a very
place to go,
well-known place. You want a beautiful, purest
clam chowder?
Rhode Island style clam chowder. Come to Anthony's.
Come to Anthony's. After Anthony's, we decided to go check out a couple unexpected sights to be found in Newport.
You wonder why I'm holding a tomato in my hand. There's a really good reason for it, because a gentleman who resided here in 1822, an immigrant from Europe named Michel Felice Cornet, saved the tomato from going extinct in New England. In the 1700s, aristocrats loved their tomatoes, and they enjoyed them off their beautiful pewter plates. But they were dying or getting gravely ill after they ate their tomatoes. So they all believed tomatoes to be poisonous and stopped eating them. The tomato was ready to go extinct in New England. But what was really happening is that the lead from the pewter plates was being drawn out by the acid in this beautiful tomato. And lead poisoning, not the tomato, what was killing the aristocrats. So this gentleman here was a big tomato lover, Michel Felice Cornet. And he ate tomatoes every day. And his neighbors, they were terrified. You're going to die. You're going to be poisoned. He's like, no, I'm not. I've been eating tomatoes all my life. And so he made it his mission to eat tomatoes every day in front of his neighbors. And slowly but surely, they believed that they might be safe eating a tomato. And they ate tomatoes again, not off pewter this time, and lived to tell the tale. And because of that, tomatoes thrived in New England, and we love tomatoes. So thank you, Michel Felice Cornet, for saving the tomato in New England.
It was on this spot, sometime between 1803 and 1805, that the first gas-powered street lamp in America was installed and illuminated right here. David Melville, who was a pewter at the time, wanted to light the outside of his home. So he installed this light right here. Now, probably not this exact light, but he installed the gas lamp right here. Now, if you're listening to me in Baltimore, you think you guys had the first gas-powered lamp. But what you had was actually the first publicly funded gas power lamp, because David Melville tried to get the city of Newport to buy his invention. They weren't really interested. So it was 5 years later, after he got the patent, that Baltimore said, yes, we would like your street lamps. So Market Street in Baltimore was the actual first publicly funded street lamps. However, in the entire country, the very first street lamp was right here in Newport.
We have worked ourselves up quite an appetite, so we are headed to Brick Alley Pub and Restaurant to try a couple of the signature Rhode Island dishes, that being Rhode Island style calamari and clams with Portuguese sausage.
What's different about the clams we're getting is we have clams with Portuguese sausage. All right, that's unusual. You're not going to find that in too many places. Now the question is, why Portuguese sausage? Well,
Rhode Island has, by percentage of population, not number of population, but by percentage, the largest number in the United States at 7.6%.
of Portuguese people per population,
And
which
there
is
is a very good reason for that, a very good reason for that increase. And
we're going to tell you why there are so many Portuguese people here in
Portuguese sausages,
Rhode Island, and why we are having
clams,
clam steamers with
sausage.
Portuguese sausage. So stay tuned. So what's unusual about this calamari is they serve it with banana peppers. And this is an old style, an old Portuguese type style. And it is absolutely incredible. You get just a very slight heat. It's not too hot. You dip it in the marinara sauce, and the tentacles are just very, very lightly fried.
It's melt in your mouth calamari, which I didn't think was possible, but it is. These guys are masters at what they do.
Once you have calamari, Rhode Island style, you're not going to go back. In 1763, the first synagogue in the United States was built right here in Newport, which is now known as the Toro Synagogue, right in front of you. Now, when the Jews were expelled from Portugal during the Spanish Inquisition in 1508, many of them made their way to South America, then the Caribbean islands, and then in around the mid-1600s, about 15 Jews eventually made their way to Newport. But why Newport? Why Rhode Island? Well, in 1663, King Charles II gave Rhode Island an experimental charter, allowing the colonists here the right to officially self-govern and pray freely, which is why the Jews came here and built this synagogue.
And what led to the largest percentage of population in the country
Of Portuguese.
of Portuguese descent, which is 7.6%. Not numbers, but percentage.
Coming to Newport and coming to Rhode Island was easy for them. Entrance was easy, it was easy to get in, it was easy to find work. Most of them are fishermen or whalers, and this became known as a great place to move. So those 15 Jews, Portuguese Jews, are the ones who began the great Portuguese migration to Rhode Island. All thanks to King Charles, who probably in retrospect wish he had been given that charter, but we certainly are grateful he did.
Well, this drive is wonderful, wonderful. And we are headed to the Newport Creamery to get an awful, awful, which was invented in the 1940s using ice milk and syrup. One customer chugged the 24-ounce drink and said it was awful big and awful good, hence the name. We need to try your classic awful awful.
Whatever the classic standard awful awful is.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
There you go.
Okay, and here we
All right.
go.
Awful big, awful
This
good.
is awful big, awful good.
Let's try it, Ross.
Look at that. Here we go. Awful big, awful good. Look how that looks in there. That is so vanilla-y. It melts in your mouth. It's like a shake, but not as sweet. It's got a more of a milk flavor and not as much sugar.
Cool.
That is awful big and awful good.
Welcome to the Blue Plate Diner. The reason we are here is to get a coffee milk. And a coffee milk started, the Portuguese and the Italian immigrants both take credit for this, but basically their children mostly started drinking a little bit of coffee with some sugar and a lot of milk. And that morphed into a coffee syrup, which was featured at fountains in the 30s and the 40s. And then autocrat coffee syrup, which was not the first, but became the staple for coffee syrup in Rhode Island, came to be to produce this wonderful coffee milk. But it was only being drunk by Rhode Islanders, roadies. And so they partnered with a Cambridge, Massachusetts coffee company called the Coffee Connection to create a frosty coffee drink that would spread across New England to be called the Frappuccino. I don't think it's too easy. The sun's so morning. What is it?
True.
Good morning. How are you? Oh, that's delicious. You can see why it came to be. I'm a huge coffee flavor fan anyway, and so is Ross. So you try this. It's got this wonderful coffee flavor, but it's creamy with all the milk and just slightly sweet and not too sweet. And that's what a coffee milk looked like. And honestly, when I was a kid, I would have a little bit of my mom's coffee, and this is pretty much what it looked like. She put a lot of milk in it because what parent needs a wired child? And we didn't do decaf back in those days.
Welcome to Bowen's Wharf. Bowen's Wharf has been the anchor of Newport since 1760. It was a vital commercial port that thrived during pre-revolutionary Newport, Rhode Island. People agreed that Newport Harbor was better than most, including Boston's. It was more protected and didn't freeze as often as others, and therefore it was entirely dependent on trade by sea. Unfortunately, the Revolution and British occupation decimated the city and the wharf, and Newport was forced to turn to other means for its income.
He's sitting down like I can sit down now, and the dog is Ben.
You're helping him. He's helping very much. He's a big boy.
Oh, he's beautiful.
Thank you.
She's still left.
So we did the research on Newport. We went to the places we were told to go by all the resources.
We went to Thames Street and enjoyed the lovely shops. So we went to Bowen's Wharf to see the elegant ships.
We went to different wonderful restaurants and sampled the delicious Rhode Island delicacies. But to us, the heart and soul of Newport is found in the side streets leading to the main streets.
It's the one-way street that takes you longer to get from point A to point B than if you went via Google Maps.
because if you did, you would miss the true charm of the city.
You would miss the indomitable spirit of Newport that still survives even after Britain burned it down in 1779.
So come to Newport, turn off your GPS,
And get lost.